I'm here because I love the game and because I know that there's great value in the game. I played 11 years, coached 39 years, so for 50 years of my life, I was involved in a great sport. Today, across this country, there are more than 1 million high school players playing the game. 14,000 high schools have programs, and in the state of Michigan, we have over 40,000 players playing the game. It is, without doubt, the most popular game in the nation. But the most important reason I'm here is to thank you and welcome you for being here, because we have to make this game and other games safer. And the ability that is in this room to make a difference is exciting to me, and I think to a lot of coaches across the nation. I know, and we all know, that the concussion issue is real. The research is clear, and that's why we're here today. But for me, the research is pretty complex. And so I don't have anything to offer there. But I do have a story that if you're a parent or a grandparent or a coach, you might find a message or two. In 1962, in September, I was on a bus, school bus, going from across the Detroit River into Groseal, Michigan, to play Groseal High School in a football game, the opening game of the season. We were going to sink the island. And and I had, before the game, I had spent most of the preparation for this season making up my mind I was going to be the most aggressive player on our team. We had a great team coming back. We had big dreams. And so I had told my teammates that when I got into the game, I was a quarterback, the first time that I took off and scrambled, I was going to run over anybody. I was going to put my head down, run over anybody who was in front of me trying to tackle me. And that's exactly what I did. And in the first quarter of the game. The bad news is when I got up, I went to the wrong huddle. I went to the Groseal huddle. And there were other things that happened in those next few hours that my friends and teammates still talk about in terms of the way that and how funny it was and all of those things. So we get back to Riverview after the game, and my mother, who was at the game, was watching. She saw me in the play where I was injured, and she was there, and my coach had said to her, he should be ready, he should be fine by next week. And so we get home, and the next morning my mother took me to a doctor in town, Dr. Homeister. And Dr. Homeister was not particularly a favorite of the parents and athletes because he was conservative, and most times it was he was cautious. And he told my mother that after examining me that I had a concussion and that it would be, and his advice to be that I would not play or practice for minimum 3 weeks and probably 4, which was horrible news for me. And so my mother went to the high school to see our head coach, and she told him that I would not be playing football for at least the next 3 weeks. So the message that I take from this, I never, ever thanked Dr. Homeister. I never saw him again. I never thanked my mother, because until a few years ago, when I began to read up on all the research that was coming out with regard to concussions, I didn't realize what an unbelievable decision they had made. The research showed clearly that the time between the injury and the time that you do not compete is the most important timing in this injury and in dealing with it successfully. So I have a former football player named Jay Feely, got a great career here at Michigan. He's played 12 years in the NFL, and he's a member of the NFL Players Association, and who've been involved in trying to deal with concussions at the NFL level. And I asked him, I said, Jay, you know, I'm going to be at this symposium. What do you have to, what would you tell him? And he said, well, the most important point I can make is that we must protect the player from himself. Because every player who has a concussion, male or female, they want to play. And the first thing is to protect them from the player, from himself, and from the coach. Because as coaches, we all want to win. And he also said that every player needs an independent neurologist. In the NFL, they have all kinds of neurologists available through the union, independent, to protect the player. At the college level, we have trainers and doctors that are associated with the universities. But the real question for me is, as I go into a point where I have 3 grandsons, 2 of whom will play football, they're 9 and 10 years old, is what about high school, and what about Pop Warner? And my conclusion was, I am going to be the independent neurologist. I'm going to the game, but I'm not going to watch the game. I'm going to watch my grandson. I want to see, I want to know what goes on that football field. And so Dr. Homeister, you see, was way ahead of the game. He was way ahead of himself. This is 1962. And he said, you're not playing, in my opinion, for 3 or 4 weeks. My mother, she didn't know anything about football, but she knew that something was wrong. And she didn't back down to a coach who was a powerful figure in our community, who wanted to win. And so only recently did I realize how lucky I was. And so I'm here to say that you have the potential to make an incredible difference, and not just in football. There's a lot of girls' sports and other men's sports that we have this same issue. So I'm here to say welcome to University of Michigan. And I am particularly happy that at this great university, where we have had such a storied history in football and other sports, that you are here, and I am confident, as I hear more about what you're doing, that you're going to make a real difference going forward. So thank you, and go Blue.